I'm sure you're reading the title of this video and you're thinking to yourself, I don't think so. That's not possible. There's no way to live for free. Everybody either has to pay rent or mortgage. But today I'm going to show you exactly how you truly can cover all of your living expenses and live completely for free by investing in real estate. Not only can you live for free, but if you do this right, you can actually make money on the back end as well. And these are 100% legitimate ways. These are not like, oh, go buy a tent and live in the forest. No, it's nothing like that. Or I'm not gonna say move in with your parents or your in-laws. No, these are 100% legitimate ways that you can truly live for free. Guys, if you're new to the channel, my name is Bryce. I talk about everything from passive income to real estate investing and business. If you like videos just like this, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And as always, please subscribe so that you get notified each and every time we release new videos. Typically speaking, for the most part, housing is the most expensive portion of people's budgets. Normally, you pay for your rent first, then you pay for your car, then you pay groceries, gas, food, all that trickles down. But the biggest chunk, the biggest line item is typically housing. Have you ever thought about how ridiculous it is because you go to work to earn enough money to pay for your rent, but then you have to go to work to pay rent for a house that you can't live in because you're busy working to pay for it? Imagine how liberating it would feel to completely remove that rent section from your budget and just have all of that money back in your pocket. Few people realize though that you can buy a multi-family property, so a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, live in one of the units and then rent out the others to help cover the cost of your expenses for the building. Theoretically, the tenants in the other units should produce enough income to cover the entire mortgage so that you live for free and you have $0 out of pocket. From a financing perspective, a loan for a single family house or a multifamily property up to 4 units is treated the exact same thing. You can walk into any bank, any credit union, and get a loan for 4 units as easily as you can a single house. Even though there may be 2 units or 3 units or 4 units, the bank allows you to wrap up all of these, all the costs of the building, into one mortgage because you're gonna be living in one of the units. This is my biggest recommendation to somebody who hasn't bought their first house yet. The reason I say that is because so many people, when they finally have enough money to get a good down payment to put on a house, everybody's looking for their dream house. Maybe not their dream house, they can't afford it yet, but something that they'll be really happy with. They want nice updated kitchen cabinets, they want a nice big yard so they can have a dog and they can finally get away from living that apartment life. Now, what I recommend is to just reel it back a little bit more. And because you haven't lived in a house yet, because you haven't had your own space yet, you're used to living in apartments. And so owning your own apartment now really wouldn't be that big of a difference compared to your usual standard of living. If you're used to living in this 3,000 square foot house and it's beautiful and this is your dream house, and then you have to go back to living in an apartment and having neighbors, I realize how hard that would be. But if you've never done it before and you've never experienced the house, this is definitely what I recommend that you purchase first. Buy a fourplex or a duplex or a triplex, whatever it is, live in one of the units and then rent out the others instead of buying a home for just you and your family to live in. Okay, now here's the beautiful part though. You might be saying to yourself, Bryce, I don't have the money for a multifamily property. It's gonna be way more expensive than a single family property. True, but the cool part is when you walk into a bank, let's say you wanna buy a single family house. They may say, okay, you can buy up to a $200,000 property. If you walk into the bank and say, I wanna buy a multifamily property, they'll say, okay, you can buy up to a $400,000 property. The reason for that is because you now have tenants paying you rent every month. And so their income actually gets tacked onto your income because that's what it is, it's income. So now you qualify for a higher purchase price. If you do this right, the income, the rents that your tenants pay should cover your entire mortgage. It'll also cover insurance, taxes, and have money left over to cover any repairs for any of your tenants when they come. And that's when, not if, because you will have repairs, so definitely budget for that. This is so cool too, because think about it. Now you have a more expensive property, which is probably twice what you would have spent on a single family home, but with a single family house, you would be paying a mortgage every month. Now you have a more expensive property and you're paying $0 every month. And even more than that, your tenants are paying down your mortgage for you and you're building equity using their money. Whereas with a single family property, you would be using your own money to pay down your mortgage, and it would be even slower paying down that mortgage because the value of the property is significantly less. You've got a $200,000 house, $400,000 multifamily property, your mortgage on this one is gonna go down a lot quicker because you're gaining equity from the rents from your tenants. Hopefully that makes sense. Because I'm a numbers guy, obviously you know me, let's run some theoretical numbers. Actually, no, let's take that back. Let's actually run the numbers from the most recent rental property that I purchased, which was a fourplex. So just to give a little bit of a disclaimer, my wife and I have actually moved past the house hacking point of our lives. We don't live in the apartments anymore, but if you're just starting out, this is what I highly recommend. But even having said that, let's use the same numbers. We just purchased this fourplex for $261,000. After everything is said and done, the mortgage costs us about $1,500 a month. Let's say you live in one of the units and you rent out the other 3, and in our case, these units rent for $750 per month. Now take that $750, multiply it by 3 because you're living in one unit, and that comes out to $2,250. After subtracting out the mortgage of $1,500, you're still left with $750 per month. This $750 can be used for repairs, even if we say $600 a month that you set aside for repairs, because your insurance and your taxes are already wrapped up in your mortgage. So even if you keep $600 per month for repairs set aside in a separate account, you're still living for free and you have an extra $150 per month. So you live for free, you're making $150 a month, and somebody else is paying down your mortgage, and your property is going up in value. That is the epitome of real estate. That's why we do this. Oh, and not to mention, you're getting tax write-offs. This is now a business, and so you get to depreciate this building, making you even more money. Okay, too many people are gonna say, that's not possible. You can't do this. Or they'll even say, I can't find a property like this where I live. It's not possible to do that here. And what I would say is get off of Zillow, because that's not where you're gonna find these deals. Pretty regularly, I find properties just like this, but they get snatched up like that because they cash flow, they make money, and so people wanna do exactly what I'm talking about. So if you wanna find a property, you have to be on top of it. You have to constantly always be on the lookout. I don't care if you live in California, I don't care if you live in New York or New Jersey, I guarantee you there are deals right in your backyard, you're just not looking hard enough. Or you know what, let's say you can't find a property that quite covers the entire mortgage. Let's say you find a property and the mortgage is $1,500 a month, but the rents only give you $1,300 a month. So you're still gonna have to pay about $200 a month out of pocket. It's typically more complicated than this, but just for easy numbers, we'll say you have to pay $200 a month out of pocket just to make up that spread, that difference. Even if you do have to pay $200 a month out of your own pocket, you're still coming out way better ahead, because if you didn't have this property, you would be living in an apartment all by yourself, or you'd have a house and you'd still be paying $1,000 a month in rent. So now you're only paying $200 a month. Even if you are cash flow negative every single month, you're still going to come out ahead because of the equity that you're building using somebody else's money. Every month, these tenants, as you pay your mortgage, it pays down the principal balance on that loan. So you may be paying $200 a month, but you're gaining $300 a month in equity every single month. You also have the chance of the property going up in value over time. This is called appreciation. And typically appreciation is about 3% every year. So every year that you hang on to this, that spread, that equity that your tenants are paying down for you, that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It may only be $200 a month, but next month it'll be $203, then $206, then $210, then $215, and it just grows faster and faster and faster as you pay off your loan. So as you're paying down your loan, your property is also going up in value, and this spread between appreciation and what you owe, that's called equity, and that's money in your pocket as this grows. Now, there is a little bit of downside with this, and it's that you do have to be a landlord. Now, the reason I say this is because really, truly, I don't believe that everyone should be a landlord. Some people are just not cut out for it. You have to manage tenants. You have to do repairs. There will be repairs at some point. And some people just don't want to deal with this. You could hire a property manager or a property management company to take care of the other units for you, but most likely if you're just starting out, you're gonna have to self-manage these units. And if you feel like you'd be taken advantage of, if you don't feel like you have a backbone and you could kind of stick to your guns and say, you have to pay rent or you're late and I'm going to evict you, then this likely isn't the process for you. There's also going to be additional work involved. You have to set up showings and you're gonna have to do like sift through tenants. You're gonna have to do background checks and credit checks. So if that really just doesn't sound good to you, then it probably isn't. But if this is something you really feel like you can swing, I highly recommend that you do it. The other downsides to this too is you're gonna have some shared common areas. There's gonna be a shared yard, there's gonna be a shared parking lot. There may be an elevator in your building that you have to share. You're going to have shared walls with people. I realize that this is not ideal, but if you can just live with it for a couple years, then eventually you can move out, rent the unit that you're currently living in, and have the excess from that unit, that fourth unit that you're not living in any longer, take that money and have it pay for your single family home that you move into after the fact. This is just a temporary situation, but if you can do it for at least a year or two, you're going to set yourself up so much better in the future, and you'll have a rental property right off the bat. As you do this, you can just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat, and now you've got a nice retirement plan for yourself. If I could go back in time and redo this for myself, I wish I would have bought a multi-family property. Now, I did really well still. I'll link a video here where I talk about buying my first house. So what I did was I bought a house, and then rather than just living in it, I actually rented out the bedrooms because I was single. So it's essentially the same thing. I was still getting rent from all of my tenants, but I lived with them. We shared a kitchen, we shared bathrooms, we shared a yard. It wasn't ideal, but it was still great. I lived for free, and when I sold that house, I made a good chunk of money. If I could go back in time and do it again, I definitely would have bought a multifamily property. That way I could have had my own apartment, but I would have had a building that I'm renting and building significantly more equity doing that than just a regular standard house. So that's another option too if you want to go down that route. But like I said, I would definitely recommend doing the multifamily route because you'll make more money in the long run. That is it for this video, guys. Hopefully you learned something. Really, truly, this is an awesome way to get started. Highly recommend it if you can swing it. Anyway, that's it for now. If you have any questions, be sure to comment down below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.